the Honk says, since this book follows Ahsoka and the next one is about Kanan and Hera, it begs the question, what character from one of the animated series would you want to get a novel focusing on them?
Ooh, a novel focusing on them. Ooh, that would be cool.
So animated character, right?
Yeah.
What character from one of the animated series? I'm trying to think of what original animated one, because that's the thing too. Is like there's so many animated characters that have been in live action.
Yeah.
Well, we've already had Asajj and Quinlan. I mean, you could say Zeb maybe, but
Like Zeb in the like Honor Guard.
like Zeb before or Zeb and Callus like after.
Ooh, that would be
You
cool.
know, that might be
yeah,
kinda
like
neat.
resettling the new what's it called? What's the name of their planet?
The new Lasat planet.
Yeah, Lasat planet, Lasat Prime, or whatever. The
I don't know
place
what
that
they
he
call the
said,
new
like
one.
we this was our original home world, and then we went to Lasat that was destroyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be cool. I would like that.
That's all I really got in Rebels. I mean, you could do a Honda one, maybe, but I don't know.
A
if
Honda
I think
novel?
it's more interesting for him to like show up in someone else's. Like
Yeah.
he's a fun part.
He's a fantastic, like, obstacle.
Yeah.
Like whether it's good or bad, he's a great obstacle.
Maybe clones. Like I don't know if I'd want Bad Batch or Rex or Cody or you know any of that, but that's one of the things here is like they talk about how like Rex and Ahsoka like part ways and go to different locations, which we've kind of seen that throughout what we've Rebels and whatnot. It's like,
And we got some
they're
Bad
not in the
Batch
same
stuff.
places,
Yeah.
but like Rex getting Wolf and Gregor, right? Like somehow those three team up.
Yeah.
Like we don't really know that story yet. And I don't know if to expect it to happen somewhere in like Bad Batch or anything, or could you have a book where Rex helps get Cody and Wolf, and now it's those three like surviving through a story in against the Empire or something,
That'd be cool.
Until eventually they go all Jaws style out
Yeah.
hunting on that dune sea of whatever planet it was.
It's not an animated character, but I'm just so intrigued by Balin so much.
Balin?
Yeah, from the Ahsoka show. And I've mentioned it a couple times, but there's been some people being like, Eric, you should do a cosplay. And I'm like, that's the first time I've ever been tempted to do a cosplay
Really?
of Balin. So, a novel from him or some type of short
I
would be
think
cool.
it's another Jedi that it wouldn't be a novel, but it'd be cool to have the idea of Tales of the Jedi, right? Well, we don't know anything about Balin, so
Yeah, that would be a good spot.
Show me 3 Balin episodes and give me a feel of who he was.
Yeah.
Like it can be like before the Clone Wars, during the Clone Wars, and then after the Clone Wars, maybe him meeting Shin or getting a Sith apprentice.
And we very briefly saw Delta Squad in Clone Wars, the guys from Republic Commando video game. So maybe like a novel recanonizing some of the stuff that they went through.
Yeah,
Would be fun.
I don't believe they've been in any of the current
I don't
canon
think so.
anymore. Just that moment there.
I mean, that we might be ignorant, but yes.
I like Heath Farm who says Ben Quadraneros.
The tool from Tund. We had some tools in the Martez sister arc. Weren't they like a foreman with a Trando? Yeah, they were like workers, and they had a Trando foreman, and they're pretty much just heads with arms and legs.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of them. I'd like to see like a Sith Tund.
A Sith
tool from Tund.
A Sith tool ton?
Yep. That would be scary.
I mean, I guess so.
Imagine
like,
it's like Darth Vader's helmet and then his arms and legs.
Yeah. It'd be like
I know.
it'd be like Krell, but less intimidating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know what? A General Krell before the fall. I mean, I'm sure he's always been a butthole, but I would like that would be kind of cool to see more Krell.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Barriss.
Barriss Offee.
What the hell ever happened to her? Like
I don't know.
that's one of them that I'm like.
I don't
where
know,
did
but
this
I
person
want to
go?
know so bad, just so we can stop with every single time there's a mystery character. People are like, it's Barriss. It happens every time. Every time.
Who do we have?
Huh?
Who do we have that with?
Oh.
Besides Ahsoka.
Well, yeah, we had that most recently with them.
Well,
But the Jedi Fallen Order, the Second Sister, any character that's ever been masked, people are like, oh, it's Barriss. Even when the biotypes don't match up.
Really?
Yeah, but no, it's been a thing for like the last, I don't know,
I don't know
5,
that
6
was
years.
Fallen Order or anything.
Yeah.
So, but But I was just like, man, I remember one.
Yeah.
I knew the one. I was like, I don't know. It could have been cool.
No, I
don't know.
mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, when they first saw that in the trailer, people were like, that's Barriss. It's going to be her.
Oh,
Trust
really?
me.
People thought so.
Yeah,
Basically,
the
just
second sister.
So basically, just any masked Inquisitor. They're like,
Yes.
it's Barriss.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, did they do it with Zoe? Was that her name in episode 9? Zori Bliss.
Zori Bliss. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about Zori Bliss.
I was like, to see, I bet that's Barriss. Look at that.
I like Zori, and I really like her design. But, yeah, they don't really I haven't seen anything from her.
No. She wasn't heavily utilized in that movie, really.
Yeah,
I don't feel like
Spice Runners of Kijimi or something like that, right?
They need to make a book about her, if they haven't already.
I really want to get to Shadow of the Sith or whatever that book is. That's supposed to really help enhance some sequel stuff.
Luke and Lando,
but
right?
I personally don't get me wrong. I loved Resistance for what it was, but it did not do what Clone Wars and Rebels did for other eras of Star Wars. And I understand some people not liking the sequel trilogy, but I mean, in my opinion, just by having gauged what it was then versus what it is now, I think people hated the prequels just as much, if not more, than current people hate the sequels. And the Clone Wars show
helped
changed that, for a lot of people. And I think that could be done for the sequel trilogy too. But Lucasfilm will do exactly what it did when it bought it, which is don't mention the prequels at all. No one likes them. Let's only do this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it feels like they do a knee-jerk reaction to okay, stay away from this because nobody liked that. Let's do this. And they do that, and they're like, okay, no one likes that, so stay away from that. Let's go back to the prequels and really do a lot more with that. Yeah. And it's like, well, all right. But I hope so, too. I would like to fill in more stories around. And that's what I'm hoping for with the, New Jedi Order, I think is what the movie's going to be called, with after episode 9 and what they do with that. And I'm like, yeah, fill in some stories there, fill in some time in between the movies or whatever. Tell other stories with Poe or Kaz around those, around those movies. And maybe it can just fill in some more moments.
Agreed.
So I hope so.
Yeah.
Speaking of Barriss, too, that was another moment where Ahsoka is thinking about betrayal. And she thinks about
in the novel,
Barriss Offee and how she betrayed her. And
Barriss was right. Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, looking back, it's well, yeah, I guess the Republic was falling and turning into this, and that's terrible. But she also betrayed me and tried to blame her for murder and, all these things. I'm like...
Also, I mean, I don't think it gets mentioned a lot, but Barriss versus Anakin in the Clone Wars is, in my top 10 Clone Wars lightsaber fights.
Barriss versus
no
Anakin?
Joke, because, honestly, a lot of the kind of, we call them, filler fights, there's nothing really special to me in terms of a lot of the times they look like action figures fighting to me, But it's only the ones that really elevate either the storyline, like Sidious versus Maul and Savage, or they elevate the production, which is Ahsoka versus Maul. But I personally love the Barriss versus Anakin fight because of the huge gap in skill between the two. Barriss has to make up for the fact that Anakin is so much stronger than she is.
Yeah.
And eventually, they're both using two lightsabers and stuff, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Anakin is using that Dinjum So Luke fighting Vader and just wears her down. And I've always really enjoyed that fight.
Sure. Most of Clone Wars fights, I feel are usually Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting Dooku, and it can't go very far with anything, right?
Yeah. And there also isn't a lot of, at least for me, interesting points in the choreography to link the fluff. It's either all fluff or no fluff sometimes. It's okay, but they're not my favorite lightsaber fights.
Sure.
Whereas I felt and I kind of felt that way with the first couple of fights we saw in the Ahsoka series, but I lost all of it with this last one, episode 4.
Yeah. Mimi makes a good point, too, in the chat saying we're getting there. Talking about us and filling out more stuff in the later episodes. Because, I mean, they're right. We've had, with what we have with, Ahsoka, Mandalorian especially.
Yeah.
There's been Bad Batch. Both of those have focused a lot on, the cloning aspect. And it really feels like we're leading into the idea of, of Palpatine. Sure, we had the Death Star, and he also had, the TIE Defender program being worked on. He also had, Star Killer being worked on, right? He had all these things working on. He also had, the necromancy program or whatever he called it, right? I think there was something like that at some point that they called.
Yeah, they said that in season 3 of Mando.
Yeah, they called it something necromancy or something like that. Like he's had all these different like projects being worked on and stuff, and this helps to feed in that one that so many people were like, man, he's back again. That came out of nowhere. And it's like, well, if you read the books, like that was a plot point that occurred, but if you didn't read the books, it's just like, well, that's out of left field. He's back. What happened to Snoke? It's like, oh, he was Snoke or what? It gets kind of confusing.
That,
so.
I must say that was my favorite Merrick theory that I did read in the last week. It's Snoke.
Snoke.
Damn, that'd be sweet.
I kind of like that, man.
Project Necromancer. That's what.
Necromancer.
Say. Thank you guys.
Thank you. So I thought that.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, we're getting to that point. It's just not there yet.